Success isn't revenge. It's revelation. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is The Black Sheep Becomes the Goat. If you've made it this far, then you already know. Survival wasn't your peak. Rebuilding wasn't your summit. The real shift happens when your existence stops being a reaction and starts being a revelation. Today's episode is about something powerful, but often misunderstood. The idea that success is not about revenge. It's about revelation. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were always right to begin with. And not in a prideful way, but in a prophetic one. When the black sheep rises, it's not just a comeback, it's a confirmation. A confirmation that the traits they mocked were missions. That the sensitivities they shamed were sensors. That the dreams they dismissed were destinies in disguise. This isn't about rubbing it in their face. It's about arriving at a place so rooted, so radiant, that you no longer even need them to see it. Because by the time they finally do, you're already gone too far ahead to turn around. Too whole to need validation. Too built to ever be broken again. Let's clarify something up front. Success and revenge may look similar from the outside, but they are powered by entirely different frequencies. Revenge is rooted in wounded ego. Revelation is rooted in healed identity. One is driven by proving a point. The other is anchored in becoming the point. When you're still hurting, it's easy to fantasize about showing them. About the look on their faces when they realize what they lost, how wrong they were, how brilliant you turned out to be. That fantasy is human, but it's not where your power lives. Because if your success depends on them watching, you're still performing for the same crowd that never clapped. True success isn't performative, it's prophetic. It doesn't scream, it echoes. It creates ripples that reach places you'll never see. And most of the time, it will be witnessed by strangers before it's ever acknowledged by family. That's part of the design. Revelation has a sequence. The world sees you before your origin story does. Because the world doesn't need you to play small to feel safe. They need you to rise so they can learn how. When you stop living in reaction to your past, you enter alignment with your purpose. You build differently. You speak differently. You don't need the old room to clap, you're building a whole new room. One where you are no longer the one trying to belong, but the one building belonging itself. Let's go deeper into what this shift feels like. When you stop seeking revenge and start embodying revelation, you no longer argue your worth. You walk in it. You no longer waste breath on explanations. You build experiences. You don't ask to be seen. You become a mirror reflecting back to others what's possible when someone stays loyal to their truth. This is when your presence starts to teach. Your boundaries become curriculum. Your alignment becomes inspiration, and suddenly, you're not looking for the people who left, you're leading the people who are still lost. Here's the paradox. The less you care about being seen, the more magnetic you become. That's because revelation isn't about performance, it's about permission. When someone witnesses you being fully yourself, unapologetically and without theatrics, it gives them subconscious clearance to do the same. That's how the goat leads. Without needing a title, without needing revenge, without needing a crowd. So don't worry if the ones who hurt you never apologize. Don't obsess over whether they've seen your glow up. You didn't evolve so they'd understand. You evolved because you did what they refused to do. Face yourself. Heal. Climb. And that alone makes you rare. And in a world addicted to surface-level praise, rarity is revelation. There's another layer to this phase that can catch you off guard. Peace. Not the peace that comes from everything going right, but the quiet, sobering peace of no longer needing your past to make sense. The peace that allows you to leave chapters unresolved, questions unanswered, and narratives uncorrected. This is the piece that reveals you've transcended the need for closure. Closure is often a delay mechanism, one last hope that someone will validate your experience. But revelation doesn't wait for validation. It validates itself. You no longer crave the apology. You see the lesson. You no longer obsess over the rejection. You see the redirection. You don't decode their silence. You embody your own voice. And that right there is the shift. That's the moment when your mission goes from personal to planetary. When your healing becomes a blueprint, not just a bandage. When your clarity becomes part of the collective map. You stop asking, why did they do that to me? And you start asking, what did it teach me about me? Not in a blame yourself way, but in a claim yourself way. Because what they did to you wasn't your choice, but how you alchemize it. That is. And that alchemy is what makes you a leader. Revelation doesn't mean you forget what happened. It means you finally understand why it did. When you become the goat, the past doesn't vanish, but it loses its power to define you. You hold it, not as a wound, but as wisdom. Not as a curse, but as context. You begin to see your scars as scripture proof that even when everything tried to silence you, something inside refused to die. That refusal? That's where the crown gets forged. Success is not loud. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't require revenge. It reveals, slowly, surely, in the way you move, the way you speak, the way you no longer chase closure, but embody clarity. That's how you know you've crossed over. You are no longer becoming. You are being. You are no longer asking. You are anchoring. And you are no longer waiting for them to get it. You are writing legacy for those who already do. So keep building, keep rising, keep revealing, because your very existence is the proof. The black sheep was never lost. She was just early. And now, the world is finally catching up. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and what you just watched is part of my signature program, the Chosen One series inside School of Soul. This series is not just a course, it's a blueprint for those who know they were different from the start. The black sheep, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the cycle breaker. Inside, you'll discover the family roles playbook, the golden child, the scapegoat, the enabler, the lost child, and how to finally step out of the part you were cast in without consent. How the black sheep becomes the goat, turning rejection into radical transformation and leadership. How to break generational curses and rewrite ancestral contracts so the pain stops with you. And how to recognize and escape modern forms of spiritual and technological targeting, from gang stalking to synthetic synchronicity. This isn't just about survival. It's about awakening, about reclaiming your voice, your lineage, and your destiny as one of the chosen ones. Click the link below to access the full series now, because the role ends the moment you decide it does, and the real script begins with you.